Hey folks, we're back with a new season, relatively new season of Who's That Leader in the Mirror. We've got a fresh brand, fresh website, fresh logo, fresh look, and I'm hoping you'll all like that. We're kicking off our series of leadership podcast episodes. I keep calling them podcasts, but episodes. And this time with my dear old friend and pal, Allan MacIsaac. He's a bit of a legend. He says he isn't, but wait till you hear him. He's been a senior sports and business executive with 30 plus years of experience driving elite performance, commercial growth, and enterprise leadership. He was a key member of the Chicago Blackhawks executive team during 3 Stanley Cup Championships, imagine, in 2010, 2013, and 2015, helping deliver league-leading revenue, attendance, and brand growth. Trusted advisor to ownership and senior leaders, aligning culture, strategy, and operations to achieve sustained competitive advantage. He's a dad to 3 beautiful young women and husband to a very patient and loving wife. So stick with us and have a listen. Alrighty. Well, hello, Allan MacIsaac, the legend. How are you?
Not a legend. As some people say, I'm famous, and I say, no, I'm infamous.
Oh my gosh, of course you do. You haven't changed since grade 7.
It was a great year, though. Grade 7 was a great year.
It was a great year.
We crossed paths for the first time.
I know. And you know what's so funny? Maybe it was grade 8 when we were sitting. I have such great memories of you and Paul and I sitting at the back of the class in Mrs. McKenna's, was it math or English? I don't even know.
I think it was math.
Right?
Yep.
Sitting in the back of the class. All we did was pass notes to each other and chat, the 3 of us.
We can't bring up the Paul stories on this.
No. Or your nicknames that you gave each other.
Yeah. They were pretty good. I liked them.
In grade 8. Oh my gosh.
We were ahead of our time.
We were ahead of our time. The only thing I think of, though, is when I think of you is, you know, you're someone who I've always deeply cherished as a friend, looked up to, honestly, back in the days when you were chasing people off from beating me up.
Yeah.
On Friday nights.
I wasn't the bully. I was the protector.
You were the protector.
And when you're born with an identical twin brother, has one lump, you become very protective, just instinctively. And, you know, as a minor hockey player and then a junior player, a college player, when anybody went near, he was the goalie. And I was going to be there to protect him. Even in the community, I mean, there was a lot of stupidity out in the streets, you know, when we were in high school and stuff. I didn't drink. Ian didn't drink.
Yeah.
But people would challenge us because of reputation. And Ian never had a fight. I had them all.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, because if somebody came close to him, I took care of it because I felt like I was the protector. And you know us, so I'm also 30 pounds bigger.
Yeah.
And it's helpful, but never been the bully. I've been the protector my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to put that one on pause because I sat in a classroom with you for like how long, right? Till you went off to hockey freedom and to build your, you know, your empire of Allan MacIsaac in the sense of who you were athletically, you know, as an individual and as a person. So when I say that empire, it's who you became, right? And family and all of that, like those are our little castles, right? But you know, one of the things I thought of was, you know, true leadership and trust when you follow the person who tells you, yeah, walk up to the pencil thingy sharpener, stick your finger in it, see what'll happen. You'll be fine, right?
It was a test. I was just testing.
I was 100% in, right? I knew what was going to happen. It was all for fun. So listen, I'm looking at all of your beautiful trophies behind you and all the hockey paraphernalia and thinking we're at headquarters, right behind there. And I had this memory this morning of me being at a homecoming when you were inducted into the St. MacIsaac Hall of Fame and you let me wear your ring. And I was like, oh, you know, like, look at the bling, right? And for me, that was a very, like, obviously very proud and humbling moment. Like, you let me wear your ring, and I cherished that moment. But what I was thinking about it was, you know, for me, it was the bling. But for you, it's like, you know, the 3 rings of the world that are known, right? You've got 2 of them out of 3.
I've got, I've been very fortunate. You're talking about the St. MacIsaac X ring as well?
Yeah.
You know, so I've been very fortunate. I've won 3 Stanley Cups, a Memorial Cup, which is one of the hardest to win, a Calder Cup from the American Hockey League, which is hard to win. And I also have 2 ECHL titles, but I have this ring, the Saint X ring, the Golden X,
Mm.
and it sits in the safe with my other rings. And my wife asked me when I initially put it in there, she's like, I'm not sure that ring deserves to be in the same place
Mhm.
as your championship rings. And I said, same commitment went into getting this X ring as it did to winning a
Mhm.
championship.
Yeah.
The same sacrifices, the same late nights, the same all those things culminate in 4 years with an X ring. It only takes the 1 year to win a Stanley Cup if you're fortunate, but
Yeah.
all the sacrifices, all the commitment, it's all in there. It's from your whole life.
Yeah.
So it fits in there. I actually have a picture somewhere. Maybe I'll put it on LinkedIn for you. And I have the Saint of X, the X ring in the middle, and I have all my other rings surrounding it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like they're all the same. They all mean something. They're all special. It's not like somebody gave it to me. I had to earn it for all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Stanley Cup is pretty special, right?
It's uh it's the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that
Right?
I was fortunate to 3 times, but I was doing a job interview yesterday with a search firm, and the guy was looking at my background, and he said, "Boy, 3 Stanley Cups." I said, "Yeah, you know what? I'm disappointed because that's not where I'm stopping. I
Mm.
mean, I had goals, and 3 wasn't the goal.
Mm.
Scotty Bowman has 14, so I got a
What?
ways to go. He has 14
He
Stanley
had
Cup rings.
14.
I have a ways to go. Montreal Canadiens, Pittsburgh Penguins, Detroit Red Wings. So yeah, he's pretty impressive.
That's amazing. That's pretty incredible. And and I think of, our little life and the things that influence us in our lives, right? I mean, you were having that talk way back when we were 12 years old, right? You had goals
I
and
had focus.
aspirations.
You know,
And
some
sorry,
people
and I
have
just
one.
think of, when I was raising my own kids, I would, you'd have parents going like full on, right? We all went full on to give our kids the best experience. And I'd say, you know, I was a little bit sarcastic actually, and maybe cynical, but I was like, we're not all trying to raise Wayne Gretzky's, right? We're not all raising Al MacIsaacs. So what's the difference? What's a differential, right? What makes a difference? Like you are there and you're in it and you're living it and it's in your blood, right? What's the difference?
It's innate to you. You're born with the
Mm.
drive. I have nieces and nephews, and if I go watch them play, even locally here, my wife's family are from this area, Virginia Beach, and if I go watch them play soccer, I can tell who's going to be advancing to maybe college, and
Yeah.
they're 9 years old because you can tell they either have it or they don't have it. I'd like to think I was born with it, but then you have to improve on your skill, your training. All those things are a major factor in that success. Guy asks me a question yesterday, Sharon, and he said, "What drives you?" So
Mm.
let me give you an example. I've never tried coffee in my life. So when I wake up in the morning,
Mm.
my motor's running at 100 RPMs already. I put
Yeah.
my gym stuff on. It's 5:15. I go downstairs to my home gym and I put an hour in and I kick my own butt for that hour. Nobody's there to tell me to go harder. Nobody's
Mm.
there to challenge me. I
Hmm.
challenge myself.
Hmm.
That's the type of people that, it takes ordinary people to do extraordinary things. I'm
Yeah.
just an ordinary guy, but I push myself hard in everything I do. And some of it's worked out and some of it hasn't, but I've tried, I've competed, I've given it everything I have. I didn't shortcut anywhere and say, well, I didn't make it, but I took shortcuts. I
Yeah.
went direct, and if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, I went on to the next project. So it's innate to you. And you can teach a little bit of drive. You can teach a little bit, but you've got to have it innate to go to that
Hmm.
next level.
Hmm. It's that mindset, isn't it?
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
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 And you have to have the growth mindset. You can't be stuck. Well, this is only one way to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I think 30 years in pro hockey, you have to be able to evolve.
Yeah.
And, there are people that aren't in the game after 5, 6 years because they've got a fixed mindset. They're stuck. they don't want to change. They don't want to learn. They don't want to educate themselves anymore. I love the part of taking it to the next level. And you have to learn. I worked with Scotty Bowman for 14 years, and he had 6 generations, 6 decades in the NHL. And he
Yeah.
won in all those decades.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Mm,
He just adjusted. He
yeah.
just kept learning and adjusting.
And it's about discipline. As I was going to bed here in New Zealand at about midnight, and I just checked my LinkedIn to make sure I had sent you
Yeah.
the links. I was like, 5:38, what the heck is he doing up? And then I'm like, of course he's up. He's been up at 5 o'clock every day of his life, or four
This is what
o'clock,
I do.
right? But it's
My
a
dad used
discipline mindset.
Our dad used to come down.
Mm,
My twin brother and I shared a room. My dad would come down at 6 a.m. in the morning and say, "Are you guys going to sleep all day?"
yeah,
True story, not exaggerated. And he was a big part of it. My mother was a big part of who we are.
yeah,
You met us at the Hall of Fame induction, and I recognized my parents there. You have mentors in your life that they take you to a certain place, and then the next mentor, if you're fortunate, takes you to the next level. And
yeah,
then you get another mentor and they take you and you take a little bit from each of them. Well, my mom and dad played a big role in
yeah,
my success. I'm still, this book isn't over yet, though. I'm
yeah.
still writing this thing.
So listen,
We're
tell
still
us a little
young,
bit.
Sharon. We're
What's
still
that?
young. We're still young.
We're babies. Look,
Yes,
we're making 60 look like the new 30, right?
correct.
Right?
Correct.
And I think you're almost a year older than I am.
Yeah.
It's funny, sitting here chatting with you and you think of all the little debates, silly debates you'd have when you're 12, right? It's like who's older, who's cooler, how was your summer? All those things. One of the things through all of this, and one of the things I do in my leadership is I talk about authenticity. What keeps us grounded? What keeps us authentic to purpose? But more importantly to identity, like who we are. And one of the things I really struggled with in my world in working in the higher education system was being that authentic self. Like I talk about, often I'll bring up, like, they called me the bulldozer. Like, I'm a pretty kind, happy, nice person,
Yeah.
but you want to get it done, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to
Direct.
leave a wake of people in your back,
Yeah.
like behind you. But I've done that. I know you find
It's
that
hard
challenging.
not to.
Yeah.
Um,
So how do you go about when you think of, who you are, your identity and what you bring, like, and how do you make the biggest thing is how do you make that aligned in in everything that you do throughout your day? Dad, husband, leader, volunteer, coach, athlete, and be able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and know, yeah, you know what? I did good. I did my best. And I didn't compromise who I was.
well, again, my goal is to be 1% better every day at everything I do. So I've set myself up for success. I don't set myself up, oh, I don't feel good today. It's going to be one of those days. But I'll give you a
Mm,
great example of, humility is a big part of life. It doesn't matter how successful you are,
mhm,
it's who you are as a person. So my wife and I went to Chicago a couple of weeks ago. We were invited back for one of the banner raising ceremonies. And we walked into the building, and I had worked in that building for 15 years.
mm,
And I took it upon myself to make sure that, yes, I was a senior vice president of the Chicago Blackhawks,
mhm,
but I knew all the suite attendants' names, male, the females. I knew everybody in that building, security people. I took the time to acknowledge them every day.
mm,
So I haven't been back in that building for 4 years. We walked in the door. The first security person said, "Mr. MacIsaac, it's so good to see you."
mm,
Said, "I appreciate that." We walk up a
mm,
stairwell. We go in the suite. The suite attendant sees me, comes over and hugs me. And she
mm,
goes, "Al, I miss you."
mm,
And every suite attendant I saw during that game, I know people that have super egos that those suite attendants never ever got to say hello to them. They never had an opportunity to tell them about their families. They never had any, there was no interaction. There was no humility. There was nothing. We have one chance to leave a mark in our lives with people.
mhm,
That first impression, when you walk up to somebody, you have to either be interested and interesting. It can't just be all about you. You have to ask people about them. So now I know about their families. They see me, I'm just reconnecting.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through life saying I passed by 20 people a night that might not have been at the level of success in their career that I was, but they're just ordinary people. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to be friends with them and I want to know about their families. I want them to know I care.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife and I walk in. I remember her saying when we were leaving, of all the things we saw tonight, the banner raising and all that, the most impressive thing was people want to see you. They want to talk to you. They want to reconnect. That
Mm.
meant a lot to me.
That's beautiful.
That comes from growing up in small town with good friends, good parenting, all those things. They set that standard and you have a choice to follow it or become somebody else. Ego is dangerous, right? It takes people to terrible places.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just an ordinary guy. I worked hard to get to accomplish some things, but I did it with a lot of other people. I can't
Mm-hmm.
take credit for it all. That
Mm-hmm.
happened with hundreds of people working together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you better acknowledge them because the same people you see going up, you see going down.
Right. Yeah.
Words of wisdom,
Mm. Right. Words of
right?
wisdom.
Listen,
It's so true. It's so
it
true.
is. You
And so
teach it.
what yeah, 100%. And it's, as you're saying that and growing up in a small town, it's got its absolute advantages, right? And then it's got, in terms of ego, it's got those disadvantages, right? And
Yeah,
it's
certainly.
and it's how do you navigate that? And it's having those people around you and focusing on the people who support you. Like when we grew up, we didn't have 2 cents to rub together.
Yep.
And I had a
Yep.
challenging childhood, right? But it's funny. I was thinking about this morning, but nothing held me back. When I think of my early leadership experiences, it could have been, helping Joe Martell and taking on
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
leadership role, selling sloppy joes in the
Yeah.
cafe and student
Yeah.
council. I don't align myself to, your successes, but it's how we define success, right?
Exactly.
And so when I think of nothing held me back, but I'm not getting up at 5 in the morning, but within myself, there must be something. I haven't really defined what that is yet, but I always kind of felt looking back, how did I get there? What was in like what enabled me? I
Something
didn't.
was pushing you. Something was pushing you.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. But we find our community, right? We find those people who support us and lift us up, right?
Well, I had there's moments in your life that change your direction a little bit. Sometimes you get knocked down. I got knocked down for something that had nothing to do with me, which is bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I spent the next 2 years working at the local food bank, giving back to the people, and they didn't give me anything. Or sorry, I didn't give them anything. They gave me everything
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was food for the soul. I'm walking around, I was very popular there, just so you know, because I could lift a box over
Sorry, can
20
you say
pounds.
that again? You were very
Yep, yep.
popular.
I was very popular because I was the only person under 80, and I was the
Love it.
only person that could lift a box over 20 pounds.
Amazing.
So it was like, we need you here, we need you there, we need.
Yeah.
But I saw something in one of those days. So I would walk a client, a customer,
Mm,
and it was a young woman, and she would have a list, and the list had on it family members. It said husband, wife, 3 kids.
mm,
So she was allocated a certain number of items. So I take her around this little store within the food bank. She got her little shopping cart, and I would put the items in.
mm,
And we got to a point where it said she was entitled to like 3 pastas, believe it or not.
mm.
So she takes two. She puts them, I hand her, and she goes, I only need two. I go, but it
Oh,
says you could take three. She goes, I want to make sure the people behind me have food.
mm.
Like, who thinks that way? And
Right?
I'm sitting there. Yes, I got turfed, but the reality is that's life.
Yeah.
I had a phenomenal life, a job, and I'm just here to volunteer, and they're teaching me more about life than I've learned in
Yeah.
the last 30 years.
Right.
She literally went around that room and each item, she took one less of everything to make
Yeah.
sure the people behind her were able to get something.
Right.
What kind of lesson is that?
Yeah. Talk about humility, right?
That's humility.
Yeah.
But I saw other people that go, can I have an extra one?
Yeah.
So you see both sides
You
of it.
see it all.
But that was a great experience. I've made incredible friendships. You'll see it on my LinkedIn. I've posted sometimes about the group.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Mm.
five older men, and I became really close, and they wanted to talk hockey, but I'm the like I was in parades with 2 million people in them, and I'm working at the food bank 30
Yeah.
miles away now, and they know I'm just a regular guy.
Yeah.
That's more important to me.
Yeah.
I
You
didn't do
know,
it because somebody made me do it. I did it
it
because I wanted to do it.
that's right. And in those moments, you can take all kinds of different directions, right?
Absolutely.
And the direction that you took speaks volumes for the person you are, that you've become.
Well, I was going to sit at home and collect my paycheck because they owed me money and say they were wrong. I'm not doing anything about it. I'm going to get another job. No, you got to use your
Yeah.
time wisely. Why can't I'm
Right.
going to go help other people?
I love
It
it.
was it was the single most important thing I did, and I built incredible friendships from it. I would go in the back of Super Walmart at 7 a.m. in the morning, and I would sit there. They'd open up. There'd be three of us, and they'd have food set aside that was about to spoil, but it hadn't spoiled. And
Mm.
we would load it into our cars, and we would take it to the food bank and put it on
That's
shelves.
amazing.
I didn't know that was going on. I didn't know
Right.
that's how it worked. Um, so that's when you realize that God put you on earth for more important things than just hockey.
I was
So
just going to say you were doing the good Lord's work.
I did it. He gave me some great guidance. I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Listen, let's talk leadership. And one of the
Let's
questions
talk.
I want to ask you is, we talk about formal leadership, right? And I I feel it's a little, I'm not a leadership guru. I'm on my own journey exploring. And when we talk about leadership, people think of it in that formal, like you've got to be the CEO to be a leader. And we've defined theories of leadership. And so, but where leadership comes from, on that trajectory of our lives, when was I first a leader? When did I even actually think about the fact that I was a leader? And so for you, when were those, like, did you always kind of think, yeah, I'm I can lead people, or was it like a little glimpse of, wow, you know what, I'm actually kind of supporting and helping and enabling people, which is what we call kind of, that servants type of leadership?
I had that feeling early on in my life.
Yeah.
I was I had just finished the season in junior hockey. I was 18. They had the awards ceremony, and I received a dedication perseverance award. That was
Mm.
the big award
Wow.
because leadership and
Mm.
perseverance. I'm sorry. And I was 18.
Mm.
Fast forward, now I'm at X, and I'm winning the awards, whatever, I'm going through my thing, but I'm also leading.
Yeah.
Fast forward, 2010, we win the Stanley Cup. I have a party in my family in Nova Scotia in the backyard
Yeah.
in Sylvan Valley,
Mm.
and a former teammate of mine from St. Yvette's who
Mm.
played with me for 4 years.
Mm.
He shows up. He wasn't invited. A lot of people show up, right? It's Annie
Yeah.
Kanish.
Hey, I
So he
didn't
shows
show
up.
up.
Well, he should have,
I
but
should
he
have.
didn't show up. Or he showed up and he says, "Hey, listen, could I have a couple minutes, Al?" I'm like, I haven't seen this guy in 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, "You were right." And I go, "Right about what?" He goes, all those nights you told me that I was letting the team down because I was out on a Friday night and a Saturday night drinking when Al was home getting ready for the games on Saturday and Sunday,
Yeah.
and you held me accountable. He said, "But at the time I thought you were wrong." 30 years later, he's telling me you were right. He
Um,
didn't have to go out of his way. I don't, at this point in my life, like that's a long time ago, but that made me feel I was a leader even way back then.
yeah.
it was hard when you're young to tell people your peer group the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's how I was raised. There's only black and white. There's no gray. You're either right or you're wrong. There's
Yeah.
no negotiating here. And
Hey, I remember those eyeballs and those eyebrows.
yeah, no, there was a lot. Listen, there was a lot going on. It was a lot of hairs ago. We had, I had personally a strong belief that I was an old soul. I think
Yeah.
myself, my twin brother, we weren't guys that drank. We stayed the straight and narrow. I was focused on what I wanted. He was focused on what he wanted. Um, and you know, as a 58-year-old guy, I can look back and say, you walked the line, my friend,
Yeah.
and it was
And
all good.
wisdom, right? That I
You picked
100%
that
agree
up.
with you.
You picked
And it
that
was,
up along the way.
what's that?
You picked that up along the way. The
Yeah.
wisdom. Yeah.
Well, no, I was just going to say, yes, yes, yes. I didn't say no, but I was going to say, even back then, because in grade 9, we were kind of starting to experiment, friends and I.
Yep.
And, you'd be like, Sharon, but you would have words of wisdom that at that age, I had no idea what it even meant. Right. And it's like, who
I
are you?
probably didn't either. I just knew it wasn't
Yeah.
something I was going to
Yeah.
explore. I
Yeah.
I get called, Sharon, I get called a year and a half ago from a former St. FX guy that runs a business in Florida now. And he goes, hey, I'd like to talk to you about working for me. Bring you in, you basically do a turnaround on big companies. And then 6 months later, you go to the next company, you do a
Yeah.
turnaround. I said, not really my thing. I said, it's great to reconnect though. He goes, I wanted to call you for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here we go again. And he goes, and this is true story. He goes, I was 5 years younger than you, Al. I've got a drug issue. I'm drinking. He said, then I get to St. FX and you're on the hockey team. And
Mm,
I'm going, hey, that's one of the MacIsaac brothers. And he goes, I find out you don't drink and you don't do drugs.
mm,
And it changed my life. I stopped doing drugs
mm.
and drinking. He said, I changed my life around. Very, you know who it is. I'm not going to use his name, but he called me to thank me for changing his life, but I'd never spoken to him.
Hmm.
It was just the impact of,
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it, residual leadership. It's just watch somebody do something and you follow.
Yeah.
You can either go in the right way or the wrong way.
Well, and it's I was just talking to Brian about this morning. It's those regular patterns of observable behavior
Yes,
that we don't
yes.
even realize. It's
The
who we
subconscious.
are, right?
Yep.
And people, you're doing it because it's who you are. And it's that integrity that maybe someone hasn't felt in their life, and that honesty and that ethics. And then they come into experience that. It's almost like a spiritual experience. And it changes their life.
You leave an impact one
Yeah.
way or the other. You might not know you did it.
Yeah. That's
Um,
amazing. Not
I've
everyone
been
has that opportunity.
no, you know what? I posted something a few weeks ago when I was home in 2015. I got a frantic phone call from one of my uncles. And he said, and I was in Arizeg with my three daughters and my wife,
Yeah.
our private time with the couple. We're on the beach, we're taking
Yeah.
pictures. He goes, you got to stop in at this young boy's house. You got to stop. You got to see him this afternoon. I go, I don't have time. Everything's allotted. Every minute's accounted for. I only have 24 or 48 hours with this thing. And I told my wife, and she goes, look, let's race back to town. We'll go to his house, which we did. I posted that story. That was 2015. I posted it about 6 months ago and talked about it. His brother saw my post, told me the story,
Mm.
how it impacted his brother, who has since passed away. I went and I sat in his room, his bedroom. He had all his hockey stuff, and I had the Stanley Cup on his bed. A few years later, that young man died. But then I had another person attached to that same LinkedIn post say, you did that in Chicago for a young disabled boy. I had a lot of access to that. Everybody
Mm.
wants, you know, um, there's so many opportunities to work with the less fortunate, the people that have had handicaps and whatnot. They've got disabilities,
Yeah.
and you might take it for granted at the moment, but it obviously left an impact because these people were bringing up. I know it's getting off the topic of leadership, but a leader might have said, "I'm way too busy. We're at the beach.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that." But I found a way, and I
Yeah.
feel good about it 10 years later.
But
You did
it's
the right thing.
important because it speaks to our, I talk about the wholeness, WHOLENSS,
Yeah.
that wholeness, right? As a leader, it just doesn't start and stop. It's who you are throughout. And you demonstrate it, and it's authentic because it's natural for you. So that's a natural style of your leadership approach that you bring into all facets of your life. And you're not leaving a wake behind. There's a perfect example of
Oh,
people.
I've left some wakes behind. Do
Yeah.
not kid yourself. I'm an intentional leader. Yeah.
So I'm just going to take a break for 2 minutes, and then we're going to come back, take a little breather, and then we're going to get started because I want to hear all about that.
Perfect.
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. It's funny because you might feel like you are talking a lot about yourself, but that's what we want, right? And what I'm hearing are all of these little gems that people, we learn from hearing about other people's experiences. Something that might feel very natural to you may feel very unnatural to someone else. And so when you think of higher level learning, for me, I think that's the higher awareness learning, right? That higher awareness leadership, sorry. And so it's when I talk about principled leadership, it's about that person who has that higher level awareness. Um, and so they're not always perfect. Sometimes we leave people in our wake. And so that kind of leads to my next question is what happens when things go awry, right? When things don't go so well for yourself, for others, maybe you had a bad day, anyway, how does that resonate with you?
Um, it's a great question. So in the business I was in, there were what's called super egos. Super egos.
Mhm.
Everybody, to get to that point, you had to have an ego of some sort,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are super egos. And I truly believe if you get the people right, you get the culture right.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of times in a professional sports organization, you're going to have some people, they don't align. They
Mhm.
might have all the talent, but they're low in character. And for
Mhm.
us, that's a liability. If they have all the talent and they have all the character, we call those a champion.
Mhm.
Hard to find champions. So you gotta take all these other people on that we call it the culture matrix. All those other people have to fit into that matrix in one of the 9 boxes. You don't want the liabilities, you
Mhm.
want the champions, but you've got the culture seekers in there. They're trying to attach to something. We call them culture seekers.
Mhm.
And they create the culture, and the culture creates the leadership. And I've had meetings, for example, with a lot of different personalities. So you deal with them all differently. I know I can go in with Sharon's type of personality. I can be very direct with her and
Mhm.
she's going to respond. But I can't do that with John because John's more of an emotional thinker and he's going to get rattled and he's going to destroy his confidence.
Mhm.
So my leadership style has to be different.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side over here, I'm not telling them anything
Mhm.
because they didn't do their job. They have a job description. They've been warned multiple times. They're not capable of doing it. I'm eliminating them. It's not personal.
Mhm.
I need people that are capable of doing jobs. And if they're not capable, I have to make the decision as the decision maker. What keeps us at consistent excellence? How do we keep that? I don't want to be mediocre in anything I do, and I don't want our sports teams. I work in the finance business now. I don't
Mhm.
want my clients to do okay.
Mhm.
I want them to be rock solid in a great place when they sell their business or they set up their family trust, whatever they do. It is not personal. People have to separate leadership from making it personal. It's not personal. It's relationship related,
Mhm.
but it's not personable. Uh, I truly believe the average person goes to their job every day and they want to do well. They're not going there but they need to be led most of the time. And sometimes it's subtle, right? Hey, you're doing great, or you've really done a great thing over here. Keep doing what you're doing, or you've completely destroyed the process here, and we need to sit down because you don't fit. Leadership comes in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. So when you build a sports team and you're talking about leadership, and I talked about this culture matrix, I have a company called Champions Edge Leadership, and myself and my partner, we built it's called Dynasty DNA, and we put all this information into our systems that we work with business owners and we work with sports teams, and we say, this is the group you've been dealt. Can you lead them to where you want them to be? In other words, a successful business, high revenue, or a championship.
Yeah.
How do you get there? You need leadership. You don't need it just in the guy sitting in the CEO chair. You need it in the person sitting in every single layer of the organization, right down to the players.
Yeah.
So I would go into, Sharon, I would go into a locker room to speak to a group of, let's say, 15-year-old boys or 15-year-old girls. And the first question I would ask, if you're a leader, please put your hand up. And sports tends to have a captain and two assistant captains. So 3 people will put their hand up. And I would say, that's the first question I would ask in the discussion. I would say, well, you guys aren't going to win anything. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? I said, everybody has to play a leadership role. It might be this much, it might be this much, but everybody has to contribute in the leadership role for eventual success. And they're like,
and it's building that leadership culture, isn't it?
Culture, I get a lot of cliches because we do this all the time, but it's not about who gets it right. It's about being right. Right. So at the end of the day, if you've got 20 people, maxed 20 people hockey team, and your culture is strong, nobody in that 20 is saying me, I. They're saying we did it. That means it's not about getting it or who's right. It's about getting it right.
Yeah.
And that's how you win.
So listen, I want to talk about why athletes make great leaders.
Well, that's a good question. They've been challenged their entire lives by their peers, first and foremost. Everyone has a peer, and I look over there, and there was a guy, not my cousin, but Mike MacIsaac. We used to go to track and field, right? And he had a pair of cleats. My twin brother and I were running bare feet in the same exact race, but I wanted to beat him because he was my peer, and he had the great shoes, and I didn't. And you know what happened? He started loaning me his shoes because I was beating him. So at the end of the day, everybody wants to beat their peer. And when you when you're challenged by your peers, all of a sudden your peers here, all of a sudden you're here. Yeah. And then you find a new peer group that challenges you. You're either you're always challenging, or you find your comfort zone. Comfort zone is dangerous in sports. Comfort means you're happy with mediocrity. If you stop driving to be the best, you're in a comfort zone.
So what enables that balance to happen? And I'm just having this visualization, and I can't remember the athlete or the country last year at the Olympics or before, running the 100-meter dash. His colleague, fellow athlete fell, and he forewent, whatever you say, winning to help that other person up, right?
That's a really, really special person.
Right.
Because athletes are in the arena to win. Yeah. They're not in it to be nice. Like I played a very violent sport. I had lots of fights. Yeah. When the game was over, that was okay. We were buddies. Yeah. But when the game was on, we were not friends. There's a competitiveness in each of us, and then there's a compassionate part of us too. Like I've hurt some people in fights or with body checks, and I was the first guy to go over and say, "Are you okay?" Yeah. But not when I was doing it, because I was driven to be the best, and you got to beat the best to be the best.
That's right.
Leadership's a funny thing, especially when you're young. I know everybody talks about we don't want to we don't want to have the MVP anymore of the team, and we don't want to have the trophy for the top scorer. Everybody's going to get a trophy. That for me, that's a la la land. Life doesn't, when you get out in the real world, they don't go, hey, everybody's going to get a job. Everybody's going to get paid the exact same. Everybody's going to be promoted on the same day. It doesn't happen that way. So why are we preparing kids for failure? So let's let them naturally find their groove, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Again, I told you earlier, I can watch my nephew play. I already know what he's going to be. I'm not sharing with my relatives, whether it's good or bad. I'm not going to share, but I've already assessed based on the performance, because that's what I've done my whole life.
Yeah.
And you know, some of my friends growing up, some of them are highly successful, and you knew they were going to be. They were focused, and then you knew the F ups. They were having a lot of fun, and they were going to burn the midnight oil, and they're still doing it, or they're not with us anymore. That's the reality. You choose your lane. So,
that's right.
I love leadership. Again, I started a company with a guy, and it's fun. It's fun to help others.
Yeah.
And if you have enough leadership skill that you can share a little bit, it's even better. I mean, you do it with your higher education, but I'm talking to guys that their whole lives, they've been the best at everything they've ever done. That's why they made it to the National Hockey League. They were the top guys, but they're in there. There's a couple other guys. They weren't the best players, and somehow they made it because they have far more determination.
I want to just go back to one of the things that, and just kind of unpeel the onion, so to say, and talk about when things go awry. And you mentioned, that, and I've had that experience of having to let people go. And for me, there were times when in my own leadership journey that I didn't bring the best of who I was in that situation, because I didn't have the experience, the tools, or even the mind awareness I was on this other trajectory, and the situation didn't enable me to deal with it in a kind, maybe it was kind, but not in the way that I would do it now. And when I think of later in my career, the biggest thing that was most important to me was bringing the best of who I was into that exit experience for that person. So that I could enable that person to walk away with their dignity, with respect. I mean, 9 out of 10, we know when we're not doing our job, right?
Correct.
Sometimes that makes it easy, but it's still so that we remain intact. And so you had said personal. I kind of think, no, it is personal, because it impacts you. It impacts that person. You take it home. Yeah,
I don't take it home.
We're really tough, and we think we don't.
Yeah.
But let me
you can go. I'm gonna answer it.
I know. But the thing is that for your integrity, it's the approach that you've taken. You're making the right decision and letting that person go. But I would hold to the fact that it's who you are as a leader, the approach you choose to take in the process that enables you to go home and feel good about it, and let it go and not be worried.
It's a process.
Yeah.
I've never fired somebody on a whim. In other words, there was a lead up to that.
Yeah.
And there were teaching moments on that same process.
Yeah.
And they didn't take the teaching well.
Yeah.
Guy knocks on my door at a tournament in Oshawa, Ontario at 9:05 because the door's locked. The meeting started at 9.
Yeah.
And he's looking in and he sees all of his peer group are sitting in there for the meeting, and the boss is in there, me.
Yeah.
The door got locked by me at 9 o'clock.
You're hard.
He's on the outside. He's on the outside. He's on the outside. It's 9:05.
Yeah.
He's on the outside. I meet with him after.
Yeah.
I said, we had this discussion before. He goes, yes. I go, how many times? 3 times. I go, this is the last time. When we go back to Chicago, you're not going to be working here anymore. It's just, I can't keep doing it. I can't, if I put all my attention into the people that are laggers, I can't put my other attention into the leaders.
Yeah.
So let's move on. And I replaced that person with a star, but I gave him every opportunity. It wasn't personal.
That's right.
And Sharon, it's not callous. I had a coach named John Brophy, who you know the name.
Yeah.
And John Brophy said to me, I'd just taken over as general manager, and he was my coach. I was 25, he was 60-ish. And he had been through the ringer in sports.
Yeah.
And he said, training camp just ended. We're going to bring the players in, the guys that aren't making the team. He said, here's how it works, Al. They're going to come into my office. You and I will be in there. They already know they're getting cut. So don't tell them they had a great training camp. Don't tell them anything that you wouldn't want to hear.
Yeah.
Get to the facts. Sure enough, the first guy comes in, sits down, and Brof goes, where do you want to play? He goes, what do you mean? I want to play here. He goes, you didn't make this team, but I can try and help you get a job somewhere else. Where do you want to play? That was it. The guy left the office. We got him a bus ticket to wherever he was going. There was no emotional attachment. It was so clean. It was like a perfect cut. Boom, done. I learned right then and there, I was going to take that mentality into every decision I made when it came to letting somebody go, because when they sit in front of you, they already know the gig is up.
Yeah.
So don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Be honest, be candid, thank them, and move on.
Yeah.
Because you got to replace it.
That's right. And sorry, and to clarify, not personal in the sense of it's a personal thing against that person. Personal in terms of how you approach it. And right, that's what I meant. Yeah. Awesome. Gosh, you guys were tough.
We dealt with a lot of tough people.
Yeah.
All for good. Listen, I told you, I worked at the food bank. I've got 3 daughters. They probably cut 50% of my edge off when I had daughters. If I had 5 or 3 boys, I still would have been 100%.
Yeah.
But they changed. My daughters changed who I am in some ways, and it was all for the better.
Well, and I love what you posted this morning on LinkedIn and about, a photo with your 3 daughters with the Stanley Cup, and you're like, to them, it was the biggest bowl for ice cream they'd ever seen, right?
That's what it was, ice cream and cherries.
Right, and the balance between, right, all of that and family. So you also wrote, if you've won the cup, you have to know how to keep the cup. So leave us with a few gems of how do you keep the cup?
I can tell you this. We won it in 2010 in Philadelphia. We flew home on our private charter, which is always great. We landed, we had dinner at like 3 a.m. At 8 a.m. I was back in my office planning for the next Stanley Cup. Because ultimately, if you rest on your laurels, you can't get to the next one. And we ran hard, won 3 cups in 6 years, but we were the best team for a long time in that group. There was the LA Kings, ourselves, and a few others, but you got to keep building and pushing. So if you sit and say, hey, we're good enough, my marks are good enough, my grades are good enough, the house is clean enough, the dinner's good, whatever. That's not how I live. I'm pushing. That is the beginning, not the end of my journey, right? I feel blessed. 99% of the world don't even know what those are, let alone have them. So I feel blessed, but
as you point to all the trophies behind you,
that's
I'm just saying that for people who can't see us.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, but the reality is I have the 3 Stanley Cups, some other things, yes, but I know I've been blessed, but in my Hall of Fame induction speech at St. FX, Thomas Jefferson said, the harder I work, the more luck I seem to have. And he was right. I just work hard. I'm in the right place. I've got great people around me, support system, teammates, executives. All these people played the same role I did. They were committed to the same thing I was. I don't care if you're a golfer or a tennis player in singles. There's a team still behind you, coaching you. You might be on the court by yourself, but they prepared you. Or a golf pro, you got a golf coach, a swing coach, you got a nutritionist. There's people behind there. And that's the same in business. The CEO has all these people that work in line, hopefully aligned with them, not misaligned, and they make the corporation successful or a failure.
Mm-hmm.
You need your people.
Yeah.
People create the culture.
I was going to ask you what fills your cup, like your, the Allan MacIsaac, so that he's filled every, when he wakes up that next day. What enables that to happen?
First and foremost, it's fitness. So I live by the 4 Fs: faith, family, friends, and fitness. And the only one that's negotiable is your friends, because your real friends are in your family. Those are the people that are so close they feel like family. The rest of them come and go in your life. So faith, family, friends, and fitness. Those are the things. So every morning my day starts with my hour of me kicking my own ass for an hour. Nobody can take that away from me. And so early, nobody calls me anyway. Then the rest of the day is focused on helping others in the business I'm in. Whether it's estate planning or life insurance or disability, whatever it might be, I'm trying to help others.
Yeah.
And in that essence, it helps me. I've been successful in it. The guy in the interview yesterday asked me, so what makes you successful? I said, I don't know. I have incredible amount of drive. If you knew, this is a terrible thing to say, I apologize for saying it. I played my 8-year-old daughter in air hockey in our basement a number of years. She's 20 now, and I beat her 22-2. And my wife said, really? You couldn't ease up on her? I said, I don't have the gene. I don't have it. And that's true. If my wife and daughter were here, they'd tell you. They don't play me in Scrabble. They don't play me in any games, because I have to pound the living snot out of you.
Yeah, I'm scared. Yeah, my family bans the game of spoons and Monopoly in our house. And ping pong, I always say, if I had the right, I would have been a ping pong champion, because we played ping pong in school, like at St. Andrews.
I don't even remember that.
No, that was in elementary school when we first.
Oh, I got you. That was before you.
So I'm like a ping pong champion. Look, watch this space.
You've been very successful in your career and life. You've got a great family, right? You're living in a great place.
Yeah.
Whoever thought at this point in your life that you would even live outside of the small community we grew up in? But
I know, right?
You've experienced life. I've lived places I never thought. How did I know from Annie-Kanish I would get to one of the largest cities in the world?
Yeah.
And how did I know I'd end up living on the same ocean, but it's just warmer?
Yeah, right.
And for you, it's the same.
Yeah.
Living where you live must be an incredible experience that your kids got to experience.
Yeah.
Right. And
2 of them are here. One's in New Zealand and the other's in Australia. And my sweet son's back in Halifax. Right?
So, yes, I know. It's just, I have a daughter in Scotland right now. She's at St. Andrews University.
Yeah. Awesome.
In
Great
Scotland.
School.
And I have my oldest daughter's an attorney here in Virginia Beach.
Right.
And my middle daughter works for the Gary Sinise Foundation. He was Lieutenant Dan in the movie Forrest Gump.
Okay.
And he set up 20 years ago, he started a company to help the families of fallen soldiers and first responders. So she flies around the country with families of fallen soldiers and first responders and takes them to Disney and takes them on events. I'm proud of my girls, but they've experienced things in their life. Like they've flown to Nova Scotia on a private jet with the Stanley Cup 3 times.
Pretty
crazy. Who's done that? We landed in Port Hawkesbury.
Yeah.
And took a car up. Who's done that?
That's right.
So
that's pretty cool.
Like, you girls are so spoiled.
That's one big ice cream sundae bowl.
That was the second. We had lobster in it the second time. I can't remember what we put in it the third time. It was something. Well, you've been wonderful.
Listen,
I love this.
Thank you. Me too. I feel like there's so much more that we could continue to talk about, and that we've only kind of hit it, right? I want to dive into a whole bunch of different areas. But thank you. This has been so fantastic.
I'm always looking forward to coming on your show, Sharon.
Oh, thank you. Sorry it took so long. I had a
little... great. I think it's great.
It's perfect.
It's the right time. It was the perfect time.
That's right.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Anyway, my dear sweet friend, thank you so much. And we'll have to have you back.
I appreciate it. Tell everyone I said hello.
I
All
will.
the family.
Awesome. Hey folks, thanks for sticking with us for that awesome episode with Allan. It was a little long, I know, but there were so many good gems in there, and it was hard to press stop. Intentional leadership, leading with intention, leading from a place of humility. There were some really important key attributes that, Allan in his humility shared with us. And so very grateful for that. And the 4 F's, right? That enabled him to be the great leader that he is through all of these years. Faith, family, friendship, and fitness, right? Getting up at 5 a.m, not so much for me, but listen, honestly, amazing. Thank you all so much, and look forward to seeing you for our next episode. We have a bit of a surprise in store, so stay tuned.